What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Starfighter podcast. It's your two co hosts, Dom and Jake. We're back. It's Friday. We're talking Loki, season 2, episode 2. We're about to get into it. But first, Jake, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. I keep enjoying the season, so I'm still excited to talk about this episode number 2. How about you, man? How you been?
Been doing good. It's been a pretty good week. You and I did some games on Wednesday. You guys can go watch me and Jake. We got some pretty awesome wins on Fall Guys the other day, so you can check out that stream if you haven't already. I put the timestamps of our wins too, so you can just quickly fast forward to that because it did take a little while. I'll be
A little bit.
honest,
A little
but
bit.
we got there. We got there. All right. Well, before we bring on our special guest tonight to do our review, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, please. Leave us a like, but more than anything, join the conversation, whether it's here live or on the replay, and we will respond back. But yeah, definitely want to hear what you guys think about the show and any theories going forward. All right, Jake, you want to bring on our guest?
Yes, here is our guest for tonight's show. She is what we call our new intern. Okay. She's going to give it a whirl. She's going to try her best. Be nice to her in the comments. And really excited about it. So, our new guest. If you want to bring her in, I can't bring her in.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, bring her. And there she is. Hey. Her name's Kesha. Everyone be nice.
Yeah.
I think they're always nice.
I don't know. We got some haters out there, man.
Maybe a couple. Star Wars Theory hates us.
Yeah, pretty much. Take his thunder, dude. We're taking all of his subscribers,
Yeah.
bro.
Kesha, thanks for joining us tonight for this review. Oh yeah, absolutely. Couldn't hear you for a second.
I was gonna say.
All right. Yeah, I think we're ready to get into it. Jake?
Yes, we're just gonna go through this, guys. Ask our normal
take the wheel.
questions. Yeah, we're just gonna go through it. Ask our normal questions. See if we can figure out what's happening in this episode. It's kind of been a little confusing to a few folks, especially at the beginning. So, but listen, we're just gonna roll with it and enjoy it, and just have a great time. Okay. So we start off, and this was a little bit confusing because it seemed like there was some sort of a time jump between episodes 1 and 2, and it just shows Mobius and Loki showing up to London in 1977, and they're there because X5 and Docs, who took off in the last episode at the end, aren't responding. So basically, their only lead is to go to the sacred timeline, the main timeline, and talk to the variant because they think that the variant might be X5. So that's their only lead. They got to go talk to him and find out where Sylvie is. That's been their mission. They're still trying to do that. They get there and they talk to him for a little bit, and he takes off running. I don't know how you guys felt about this little chase scene that pursues this the scene, but I really enjoyed it. We get to see Loki kind of come out, what's his name? Brad gets away, and you see Loki kind of show all these like different projections of people that he saw in the streets to kind of slow Brad down. And I think is that the first time we've seen him do that in this show? I feel like it might be.
Do what?
Just like use projections of himself like he used to do. I don't know if
in the show. In the show, I think so.
Have we? I know we saw what's his face kind of do that.
No, I'm saying I think it was the first time. Yeah, in the show.
Oh, it was? Yeah. So it was cool to see him come back kind of to form and be kind of mischievous and use his powers.
Mm-hmm.
That he hunts Brad down and they capture him with shadows, which I thought was insane. Thought that was like a really cool kind of like trick that he can do. Like manipulate his shadows to grab him. But they end up capturing him. They bring him back to the TVA and they put him in a holding cell. And he gives them some hocus pocus BS thing saying that the temp pad that he has is only to block them so they can't find him. And so they're curious to find out what it is. They go and talk to Obi. And I don't know if you guys like get the same weird feelings every time I see Obi and how he responds to them. I I think there's something weird going on with him. I don't know what, but they go down there like, hey, can you fix this? And he's like, yeah, sure. He's like, is it like a bigger deal than like us all dying? But he's like kind of asks it like in his own sarcastic way. Like that's what I mean, like how he asks things. They're like, no, take care of that. And he's like, okay, like just here, take the manual that I wrote, that I know everything about everything in this book, take it and like figure it out. Then it jumps to Hunter B-15 and Casey talking, and they're trying to find Renslayer, and they can't find her right now because there's too many timelines. It's too difficult. And they mention again that Miss Minutes is like gone, so they don't have the help from that, so they're doing it manually. But Casey ends up like telling her that she found the last message that Renslayer got, and goes and talks to Mobius and Loki about it, and tells them that Miss Minutes sent the last message, which we kind of knew since we saw like the end of season 1 that happens. So they finally understand that Miss Minutes is helping Renslayer right now, and she's MIA with her. So after they figure that out, they go down and they have to go talk and interrogate Brad. And all three of them go in there, B-15, Mobius, and Loki. I thought this was like a really telling scene, interesting scene. Because as they're interrogating him, it doesn't seem like they're the ones that are like interrogating him. He definitely has control of like the situation, and he's getting underneath everyone's skin. And he calls out Loki and says some bad things to him about his mom. And Loki almost loses it. I honestly thought Loki was going to do something to scare him, like grab him or something, like hit him. But he doesn't, and he backs away. And then Mobius kind of interjects, and so Brad goes after Mobius and really gets under his skin. And this conversation is very important because it kind of shows what Mobius has been wrestling with ever since he found out he was a variant. Like, he who remains dies. He's just kind of been going through some things mentally. And this is what I'm saying about the show. It shows like clear like division between some people and their thoughts and ideals towards what the future should be. Sorry. Okay. And I'll have to close my window. But regardless, he gets under Mobius' skin. Mobius kind of flips out because he was called a nowhere man, which I think was kind of like a deep cut in like TVA world. I think they call that to people that are variants, so like a nowhere man, like someone that doesn't belong anywhere. And so I think that like really got under his skin because he's saying that he doesn't belong in TVA, but Mobius feels like this TVA journey that he's going through right now with Loki and the multiverse collapsing is like he's doing this for the greater good. And we see that in the scene after Mobius is like, dude, I don't want to know, if I like lived a good life. I would much rather know that I had a terrible life and I'm doing something better and I have a purpose now and like I'm working towards things. I don't need to be distracted with a life that I can never have because I was ripped away from, and like he feels like he can't go back to. So they have that scene in the cafeteria when they're eating pie, and Loki kind of opens up to him, and the acting in the show is great, and I love seeing the relationship between those two guys. But so they come up with a plan after that, after a little touching moment and just like honesty and friends like talking with each other about what's going on with them. So it seems like Mobius is in it for the greater good. Like he doesn't want to know. Moving on. They come up with a plan then to like kind of trick Brad into confessing where Sylvie is and all this stuff. And I don't know if you guys want to talk about that scene or if you guys like have any feelings towards the torture scene of the show.
But is it okay if we like rewind just a little bit?
Yeah.
Because I wanted to talk about the conversation that they all had that first time they were in the room with Brad. I really like the psychological aspect, and especially because, like you said, it kind of goes back to how Mobius feels at the end of season 1, and then even before that, it plays on what goes on with Loki and like his mentality at the beginning of season 1 and his like internal struggle. And this was probably like one of my favorite parts of this episode because I like that he's I think on some level, Loki's maybe still battling like his identity, but I think this actually showed that he's accepting of who he was and who he is. But
Yeah.
also, I think it could be foreshadowing what you and I have talked about before, Jake, where Loki may ultimately turn to being more of a hero type character in the end.
Hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, Kesha,
And
did you want to say anything?
Yeah.
Oh, anybody?
yeah, Kesha, go for it. Did you have anything to say about the scene?
Nothing to add on that one, no.
Okay.
The next
I
one.
I literally was like wrote down in my notes the same thing. I was like, Brad literally talks season 1, episode 1 things to Loki in that scene. You know, like it's Loki, I think, like you said, still kind of deals with that. And maybe he doesn't like hearing about that because he is trying to be a good guy. And like hearing about his past kind of makes himself cringe inside and like angers him. So, but I wrote down, yeah, like season 1, episode 1, like basically telling him like he's a loser. He's always going to lose. Goes through different scenarios. And um, I think that's why Loki didn't snap. Whereas like Mobius, like he just like, he's like, yo, Mobius, like this is what's going on, dude. Like, what's wrong with you? There's no file on him, so I think Mobius was like pretty unprepared for what he was saying to him. But yeah, so they go back, they talk to each other, figure out a plan. It actually cuts to Obi, I forgot, and he goes in. He's trying to bring that machine in to fix the loom, temporal loom that's malfunctioning, and when he does that, he finds out that he needs like a certain person's temporal aura to open up the gates. And the assumption is that it's he who remains is. I don't know if either of you guys want to jump in and like give a theory to. Do you think that it's actually Kang he who remains, or do you think that it's somebody else's? Like, do you think it might be like Renslayer's? That like he made it so it's like she's the key and that's why he kept her around, or just no thoughts on it from either of you? We're just gonna go with it still needs to be Kang's, one of his variants.
Yes and no. I don't know. I think Renslayer seems more logical.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that's why she was like around. You know, he's like in love with her. It's like, you know, having your kid's password as your
Yeah.
email. It's like, oh, I just got Renslayer's aura to use, and that'll be
Just
solid.
attack me with that comment.
Yeah.
I think it's Miss Minutes aura that they need.
Yeah. Okay. So you think it's just straight Miss Minutes? Because I also we were gonna have a conversation after I go through this breakdown about Miss Minutes, Obi, what you
I'm
think.
I'm just kidding.
On. Dude, well, that's the thing. He was like, okay, we need to find Miss Minutes, and I don't think that Miss Minutes is gonna help them out unless, obviously, I think it's gonna be Nathaniel Richards. No, who is it? Victor Timely is gonna be the new Kang in the past, which I think we're gonna go to next episode. But so I think, you know, they're gonna have to go find Victor Timely and try to like convince him to come back, and we've seen him so in the TVA and all stuff. So we'll get, you know. But
Yeah.
anyways, they have that scene. Kind of shows like, oh shoot, like they're kind of screwed right now and need to go find another Kang variant or Miss Minutes. Cuts back to I think, which is a hilarious scene where Loki walks into the interrogation room and he's got this plan and he's like, okay, like I'm ready for another session because the guy said that he needs therapy, and says like, all right, like I'm here for another session and blah blah blah. The guy's acting all cocky, and then all of a sudden you hear these wheels squeaking and then like this music change, and you see Owen Wilson. You see Owen Wilson rolling this like machine in, and it just clanks the front door because he like he needs someone to lift it up. And I just kind of giggled because it just kind of killed their like whole momentum they had going on. But they wheel in this machine, and clearly the guy like recognizes it. Brad is like, oh, okay, like this isn't gonna go well for me, but he keeps his cool because he knows like they're not gonna do anything too serious, especially if this like Mobius is there. And then little trickery happens where they're like, oh, we forgot like the control. We need to go get the control. And so they both start walking out the door. And when Mobius gets out the door, Loki closes it behind Mobius and locks himself in there. And this, like, again, I don't know what it was about this episode specifically, but this is the most like old Loki we've gotten in a while, like in a very long time. Like even in movies, like he doesn't really act like this too much, except for when it was like 2012, and he like flips the switch and gives us like menacing conversation. Like his tone of voice changes, just like how he acts and walks. Like he's gonna mess you up. So
But don't you think it's kind of that front that he's talking about too, like in season 1, how it's just um it's kind of this facade that he keeps up.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what he says too.
Like
I think.
he's like back to using it.
Yes, yeah, he says it's like to scare and manipulate, I think, or something like that. In the first season. So yeah, he does that, and he kind of does that too with like the first part where he like grows horns with the shadows. Like he's a showman still, but we got to see that like a lot more in this episode. Regardless, so he's messing with them, and he starts tinkering with the machine, gets it going, and breaks the chair, and the guy starts freaking out, and you hear Mobius slamming on the door, like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, don't do it. You know, Loki's like, dude, I'm a villain. Like, I don't care. I'm gonna mess you up, dude. So he sticks them in the box and squeezes them all tight. Guy finally says, like, she has another life. And so, cool. Like, just tell us where she is. Whatever. He's like, oh, I'll just tell you, go. And they're like, no, like, you're coming with us. And you can see the guy, like, physically doesn't want to go with them to, like, a branch timeline that Sylvie's on. Which we'll get to because it happens. And I'm going to ask you guys a question, actually, at the end of this, because I saw some people were confused with it, and I wanted to get your take. But regardless, do you guys want to say anything about the interrogation scene with the torture? I know Dom doesn't want to talk about it. It's too brutal for him. I think he was getting a little nervous there. He was sweating a little bit watching it last night. But Kesha, do you have anything to say?
I thought it was kind of funny how, like, if you really pay attention, you can tell how fake it is that Mobius is being. Like, he's trying so hard to put on this act, and Loki's just so used to it that he does it so well, you can't actually tell if it's an act or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that too.
I kind of, I know they're not going to squish a guy, but I actually got like a little worried. Like during the first half of that whole scene, I was like, okay, like it's just they're doing this on purpose. But then when Loki kind of turns on, it was when I was like, oh, like I don't know. Like Loki could just mess this guy up because like his love for Sylvie, he's pretty much willing to do anything. So, but yeah, I got a little. I thought at least a broken arm or something. You know, do something here. Whatever, it's fine. They're not gory. So after this, they have him take him to the 1982 McDonald's where Sylvie's at.
What a life!
I know. Actually, rewind it because there's another scene where it's not really that important, but again, you know, B-15 is like, we got to go find Obi, and she goes down there with Casey because Casey's shown that he like knows a lot about the guidebook and has read it and knows so much about the TVA, and so she's like, maybe you can help him. They go down there, and he's like totally fangirling over Obi and like asks for his autograph, and Obi explains to them that like, yo, like we're kind of done for right now. We can't open the door, so like this is what needs to happen. So now he relayed that message at least, and so Loki and Mobius are gonna hear that later on. But yeah, so I don't know. They show up in 1982. What a life, he said. Sounds like the life Dom would love to live. Good news for Californians. It's going to be $20 an hour starting next year for all fast food employees. So
fact.
Yeah, go get your job at McDonald's. But yeah, it's kind of a weird scene. Like you don't really know what's going to happen. And before they walk in the McDonald's, the guy's still freaking out. Brad's like having a meltdown. He's like, yo, like, what's going on? We need to like get the heck out of here. I don't want to be here. They go in, they talk to Sylvie. Sylvie really comes out and acts like she doesn't want anything to do with it. People are really upset, kind of confused with this scene and don't like the direction that Sylvie's going, or like are confused on why she is the way she is right now. I think we'll get to it. But so they talk, and she doesn't really show like any regret or anything, and just like wants to hang out at McDonald's. Like, what are your thoughts on this conversation, Dom? Because you seem like you're getting pretty heated over there with this McDonald's lifestyle that she has.
No, it was just kind of funny. I mean, part of this is clearly um, just like part of the whole advertisement and the deal that McDonald's like did with Marvel for the show. Because it just seems kind of random, but it works, I guess. I actually I kind of want to talk a little bit about the key lime pie. We kind of glossed over that, but
That scene or like the actual pie?
both.
I told you
Mostly,
there's theories about this whole pie
yeah,
situation. And you
I
laughed
did.
at me. You laughed. You laughed at
Well,
me. And after watching
yeah.
this episode, I was like, I actually think that theory is completely out the window. I don't even know why anyone thought that was a thing. So I flipped.
Either way, the pie looked good. Like I
Oh,
wanted
goodness.
pie after that. And then no, it was a good conversation, but I don't even remember what happened actually.
Oh, goodness. All right, we'll touch on it. Anything about this conversation, though, with like Sylvie and Loki and their relationship and how they're going about it?
No, Kesha, go for it.
Yeah, Kesha. I know she has something to say. She's
The only
antsy
thing
over
that I
it.
really had to say was like, it was confusing seeing the way her determination flipped. Like before, she was so gung ho about fighting off the TVA, and then now she's just kind of like, "Nah, I'm done with it. Like, I give up. I'm done."
Yeah. No, I mean, like, that's something that has been kind of floating around and people have said. They're like, I don't understand. She used to be this like BA chick that was like a warrior, and what the heck is she doing working at McDonald's? Like Dom was saying, like, what's happening? And honestly, the best answer I could give is the fact that she literally set out to accomplish a mission in season 1, accomplished that mission, and now she's living whatever life she wants to live. And the ramifications of whatever happened, everyone's like, why aren't you like mad at her? Dude, she doesn't even care that all this is happening. She wants the TVA to burn down. Like, this was her goal from the beginning. She does not want to help the TVA. She doesn't care. She gave everyone free will to do whatever they want, and that was her goal, and she accomplished it, and now she's chilling. She don't care. So everyone's like, why doesn't she care? Like, if people are like mad about it, I was like confused why people were so confused about like the fact that she just kind of did what she did, you know, like she set out, she did it, she's done, she's cool, she's good, she just wants to flip burgers, folks. Let her be. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, that part
Sponge.
makes sense, but it's difficult to understand because
The flipping burgers part makes sense.
No,
SpongeBob made a good
the fact
living.
that she gave up, like, I understand giving up, like, she completed her mission in the first season. But she also found out in the first season, like, all these other things, and that's why the things that are happening in the TVA, like, with them trying to get everything figured out and, like, why is this all happening? Yes, the TVA is burning down in a sense, but it's also, like, fighting itself almost in a way. And so if she knows that there's people fighting to get rid of this ultimate power that's controlling everything in the TVA, that's who she initially wants to be ended. So why is there no fight for that?
I think because they probably haven't ruined her life yet. She's chilling. Like, she killed the guy that ruined her life, and that's all she wanted to do was like looking at He Who Remains' eyes when she stabbed him, and like, she's like, cool, like, I did it. You guys fight amongst yourself, burn down, like, whatever, kill each other. She doesn't really care. I don't know. Like, that's what I get from it. But she just is done. She did her thing, and she's solid now. But it's an interesting conversation. I think it's actually going to set up a lot, and this is like kind of what you like just alluded to, was the fact that like there are people inside of the TVA that think differently. There's a divide in there. You have people that want to follow what He Who Remains was doing, even though he like was using puppets. They still believe in like his ideals and want to carry that on. And then there's people that think everyone should be free and free will and blah blah blah. But I think it's getting to a point where that's getting a little bit out of control already with all these timelines, and so they know that they need to do something. And I kind of laugh about it because Kang, the whole thing of Loki in season 1 was like between him and Sylvie was the fact that he wanted to rule the TVA and take over the TVA, and she didn't want to. And then he came to grips with like being like, I don't want to do it. And he got to He Who Remains, and I was like, kind of like was thinking like that was the best option to do, but didn't want to do it necessarily. So I think it's funny that like it's come full circle, and now he's like so involved in the TVA that he wants to be the hero, like Dom says, that now he is going to like want to rule the TVA in general. So whatever He Who Remains thought was going to happen is already happening. And it might have been part of like his plan and all this other stuff. So I don't know if you guys are thinking about that at all while watching this. I know Dom just rewatched the first season, but do you think that this is all, either one of you guys either think that this is still all part of the plan?
You were supposed to make that more of a big deal that I rewatched the first season, Jake.
Hey guys, Dom rewatched the first season. Okay. Everyone give him.
Go Dom.
Thank you. Thank you.
He pulled through for us. He pushed it out and got it done. So
yeah, Jake was either either commit or commit. And I was like, you know what? I think I might just commit.
But yeah, so I don't know if you guys, I've been thinking about this whole time, like I think some of the stuff that He Who Remains kind of laid out and said like this is going to happen, I think that it's still part of his plan, what's going on right now. I know I kind of touched on it last episode with Dom, and asked him basically like, do you think that he left all those clues behind in the TVA, behind like all those murals and stuff, because he wants people to find out and like he needs this to happen? We're going through this kind of loop thing right now, and is this just all part of like a natural reset that needs to happen? Or like, did you guys think about that at all? Like this is still part of the plan for He Who Remains?
I think overall, yes, it is, but I think it's got blips in it that are messing with what the plan initially was supposed to be.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I feel like I don't have a whole lot of theories just yet because you kind of encouraged me, Jake, to kind of just go along for the ride. And
well, you could think of like, oh, well, this might
I'll start to put stuff together more soon, I think.
Yeah, it's only episode 2. So anyways, they have this conversation. Brad kind of divulges a little bit. Oh, hey, Gavin. Hey there, bro.
Hey, Gavin.
Glad to see you on here, brother.
Thanks for joining. Let us know how you like the Loki series and episode 2.
Yeah. We're about just done with this breakdown real quick. Then we're going to get into some questions and theories. But so I think this scene's pretty funny too between Mobius and Brad when he's like eating McDonald's. And they're talking about like his movie, and he's like, oh, it's cinema. And I thought that was like a funny kind of line towards Scorsese, who's like, Marvel movies aren't cinema. And he's like, it's elevated thriller, man. So I like just I love how Mobius kind of talks to people and gets information out of them without them knowing. He does it like way better than Nick Fury did in Secret Invasion, where he's like, let's do a wire thing on the train. I don't know what the heck like that was about. That was stupid. That, I mean, Mobius just talked to him and kind of was like friendly with him and got some information out of him by getting like a reaction. Was like, is this all set up? And like kind of questioned it. And the guy's like, yeah, when you get like, and he's like, why are you acting like that? So he kind of put it together. They go outside, and Sylvie does enchantment, finds out that they're going to blow up pretty much all these other timelines, the branch timelines, so that they could protect the sacred timeline. It's a no-go for me, Gavin. It's a big no-go.
Should we take a break, or we'll come back to that question?
No, hit it. It's too big of a question. We have to put it up. Debate of the century right now.
It's only slightly on topic. Gavin asks, what's your opinion
Very on topic.
Pineapple on pizza? Kesha?
I mean, it depends on the kind of pizza you're putting pineapple on.
Okay, so that's a yes. She likes pineapple on pizza. Dom?
I can get down with it sometimes.
Oh my Georgia. These are the two people I'm on live with. Pineapple on pizza lovers. I'm out of here. See you guys later. Shoot. But no, so she enchants him and finds out, okay, they are going to blow up all these timelines. And I was kind of like, we'll get to it at the end, but I knew that was going to happen. Like, they showed her taking all those bombs at the end of episode 1, and I even said it last week. I was like, okay, she's not looking for Sylvie. She's literally going to go out and just bomb a bunch of timelines. I didn't know to what really extent she was going to. Honestly, I didn't think it was going to be like a massive thing, but it turned out it was. But so then they kind of throw him back to the TVA, and they go and they hunt Docs. And they show up, and I don't know how you guys felt about this fight scene or like this kind of ending scene, but it felt a little quick. I enjoyed some of the things that happened in it, i.e. when Loki throws the stick at the guy and it hits him in the back and he sends him back to the void. He prunes the guy. I love that. I don't know why. It just cracks me up. Just like maybe giggle, you know? I don't know why. But yeah, did you guys enjoy this scene at all, or was it underwhelming for you? I know like this is where most of the conflict comes in the show, is like this last 10 minutes of the show seemed quote unquote really sped up for a lot of people. The pacing was really off. So I don't know if you guys felt that way or have any opinions about that. Dom?
I really liked it, actually. It was a little fast, but no, I didn't mind the speed or how long it lasted much. I thought it was pretty cool. And yeah, I thought it was funny too when Sylvie tells him not to overthink it, and then they like hold hands and like do so. What do they do?
It looked like they did the same thing that she did in episode 4 when they're stuck on that Lamentus planet on the train and they get thrown off the train, and then she gets really mad and like and like does this like explosion and like breaks the ground around her. I think she just like got better at that pretty much, and like that's what she used, if that makes any sense. But that's what I can figure. But,
yeah, it was cool.
Kasha, you got any opinions? What?
Oh, go ahead.
No, he's got to say something terrible about the scene now.
No, real quick, remind me, do they just capture Docs or whatever her name is?
Yeah, so they go in there, they basically kick everyone's butt pretty quickly. I think they did that on purpose because it shows just how powerful they are outside of like the TVA. Like they just will take everyone down. So they're way OP than the TVA agents. But yeah, they just go capture her, and then some of the guys get away, they say. So Docs gets taken back with her guys, but a few of them escape. But yeah. So.
Catch it.
Me now?
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was way too fast, in my opinion. Like, I understand what you were saying with the showing that they're OP, but
oh well, I didn't even look at it.
There definitely could have been like more to it. Or like, I don't know. They just like went in for like, okay, bye, and then it was done.
Yeah, it was pretty quick.
To it.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know, I don't know. Would you have wanted them to wait to do this scene at the end and just have them see like these people with bombs, and then them like cut that episode right there, like at McDonald's, and they're like, oh, like holy, or do you think that they like?
Or should it have been like a food fight at McDonald's?
It should have been. That would have been a lot better, honestly.
Would have been more entertaining.
Yeah. I don't know. I enjoyed it. But after this scene, they capture her. They go back to the TVA. And basically her plan worked. And there's a bunch of timelines. It looks like pretty much all of them, I would say 90% of them are pruned. And I've seen people talk about the little numbers on the top saying 616 blah 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 because we're part of the 616 universe. It's not 1999. Okay, that was something that was kind of like floated out there a long time ago that like never was really confirmed by Kevin Feige. So they're just gonna go with 616 people. Okay, we've been going with it for a while, but it shows all these little numbers, and I think that's because they pruned branches. Since there was not that many of them, they had to prune like the biggest branches that had more branches coming off of it, basically. So they're like, let's find like the base of that root and cut it off. And so they just did that. And that's pretty much where it ends. I mean, Sylvie gets really upset and kind of blames the TVA again. And it's like, when she did that in this scene, I was like, okay, listen, lady, like, you need to shut up because, like, you're not helping and you're the one that just, like, wants this place to burn down. So you can't complain right now. Like, move along. Like, you need to make up your mind and either help or just shut up and leave us alone. So that's all I felt. I don't know if you guys felt any certain way when she was getting all upset at Loki for messing up and says, like, this is what you did and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, because a lot of people are saying that she's the one that should be feeling guilty and more people need to be acting mad at her because everything that just happened is her fault.
Yeah.
From killing He Who Remains at the end of season 1.
But you could also say that it wasn't her fault because, like, her fault was getting all those timelines open. And so she actually saved all those people. And now they just, that one chick Dox went and just killed all of them. Like, I don't think Sylvie was really responsible for Dox's decision to go and kill everybody. I think she just did what she wanted to do. But regardless, I just don't think she has a right to say anything because she's not doing anything to help them. I don't know.
But didn't everything get worse after she killed him?
It depends on the side that you're standing, my friend. You know, what do you mean by worse?
Well, I'm just
better for everybody.
I'm just on the roller coaster. I'm just on
okay.
the ride.
So for her, didn't she got her life and she's like having a great time and she did the right thing she feels and gave everybody free will and choices to do whatever. And now there's a bunch of other people out there living the lives they want to live. So on her point, no, she didn't do anything wrong and she didn't feel guilty. But she left the TVA in shambles, and now whatever the TVA does, you're saying she should feel responsible for, which I get that, but from a certain point of view. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I don't think she cares too much about anything besides herself right now and her own timeline, or branch, or wherever she's living. So, but shows her, she goes back, she yells at him, she gets all mad, she leaves, and it shows her at the end back at McDonald's in the parking lot after her shift, and she's holding He Who Remains' temp pad, or whatever we want to call it, because it doesn't look like a temp pad, and it was He Who Remains is temp pad. So that's kind of a question I wanted to ask you both. I'll ask Kesha first. What do you think, like, if anything, is different about He Who Remains' temp pad compared to just the regular TVA agents? Like, do you think that it has any sort of special abilities because it's Kang's, or like, do you just think it's a regular temp pad?
I think it would not make sense if it was a regular temp pad, because if he who remains is the one that controls everything, then he needs to have the ultimate power at his hands at all times. So if he has the same thing that everybody else has, and everybody that works in the TVA is able to hack into those, it'd be too easy to hack into his, and he would therefore easily lose control.
Yeah.
I feel that. It makes sense.
Yeah. Dom? But, like, any, like, special things, any theories of what you guys think is going to happen, or do you see this coming into play, like, heavily, Dom, in, like, a future episode, or are you just going along with it, not thinking too much, just saying, take me away, sail away?
Yeah. If I think too much about it, my brain hurts. So.
Well, I mean, you could be like, okay, I don't know, maybe it has the ability to travel back in time in certain timelines. Maybe that's how they use, you know, maybe she's going to give it to Loki in a future episode, and that's how he's time slipping again. You know,
maybe she's able to create new timelines with it.
You know, that'd be really interesting.
What do you think about that?
I think that you are onto something, because her timeline didn't get erased. Well, her timeline didn't get erased. Her branch didn't get erased. So maybe it has its like own specific special properties where it kind of protects her, whatever timeline she's in, and it protects that branch. So it's possible. It's very possible, because I was surprised she was even able to go back to McDonald's. I was like, okay, like, what's the significance of this timeline that it's
to
like totally
McDonald's?
Give me that Big Mac from McDonald's. Yeah, so okay. I thought that was interesting.
Real quick, Shout out to our friend
Oh,
Simone.
Simone.
She says it could also be tracking other Kangs. I like
That's
that theory too.
a good theory. Maybe that's how she's able to like avoid all of them in this timeline. She like was able to find one that doesn't have a Kang yet in it, and that's why she's back in like 82 and she's just hanging out. But there was other things this episode. I
Do you
don't
guys
know.
think? Do you guys think we're gonna go to Burger King next week in the show?
I think if we're gonna go anywhere, it's gonna be KFC.
No, went right over Jake's head.
Did
I
you say
did catch-
Burger? Did you say Burger King?
Yeah. Kesha got it.
You didn't pronounce
We can
ang
keep
enough,
going.
my friend.
We can keep going with the show. We can keep going. Also, we gotta get Simone on here for Loki reviews as well, so we'll try and make that happen.
No, but so that's it. That's the episode. I kind of wanted to ask you guys what you thought about this episode. Like, did you guys think, this has been a debate, that like, what do you think happened to X5 or Brad Wolf? Do you think that he was telling the truth and said like he just kind of bailed on it, which is a lie because he knows where Sylvie is? Do you think he like found Sylvie and was like, okay, this is what you're doing? Like, cool. Like, I'm gonna do the same thing. Although it seems like they don't know each other, so I don't know if they met. Like, what's your theory? Like, why was he doing that? Do you think it was honestly just a setup, and that Doc sent him into the main timeline to be an actor and hang out, just to be like set a trap and pull a Thrawn and delay Mobius and Loki, so that they couldn't stop Docs from blowing up that stuff? Do you think that was like all a ruse, all a trap, or do you think that he had a conversation or a change of heart and actually wanted to live his own life? Kesha.
Yeah, this one's all you.
I was trying to think of how to say this. I think it's a bit of both, honestly. I think he was sent there for specific reasons, not just to be a distraction. But I also think that it was expected of him to stay because he already acted a certain way when he was in the TVA about like, what's my life? Like, what's going on here? If I can't live my life, then I'm going to stay here. So I think once he found Sylvie, he was like, well, she's living her own life. I might as well continue living my life because who knows what's going to happen if I go back.
Okay. I can dig on that. See, I kind of feel like the same thing happened, and then I thought about it more. I was like, I don't know, because it seems like it could have just all been a setup. But it seemed like he wanted to, and maybe there's another kind of relationship that was going on into another theory that maybe Dom could jump in on. There's a theory floating around right now, Dom, that chick Docs, this is an outrageous theory, and I don't subscribe to it, but I want to get your opinion on it, that Docs is actually an older Sylvie, and that X5 is her son, her and Loki's son in the future. And so she still wants to preserve the main timeline right now so that she could have her son later on. And so maybe they had a relationship and she was like, just go, honey, like go live your like own life on Earth and like don't worry about it. Or what do you think about that theory that she's possibly an older Sylvie with a son?
Wait, so X5 would be her son in that theory?
That's why they had that weird little head touching moment in the first episode. And she's like kind of takes care of him more than the rest.
It's really interesting. I don't know. Could be cool.
No?
If executed properly, yeah.
Okay. So you could buy into it. I would think that's a little outlandish. They would definitely need to execute it pretty well.
Yeah,
but
I don't think it's very likely, but yeah.
Okay.
All about the delivery.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm gonna throw this one out to both you guys because I want to know your opinions. That if you think that Obi is a good guy or is he a villain? Is he got something up his sleeve? or like not necessarily a villain for Kang, but maybe just like have his own agenda for what's going on. Do either of you think that that's a possibility? Go
I think
for
he's
it,
the
Dom.
best. I think he's the best guy.
Would you be happy if he was a villain though? If they're like, oh no, he's just like, because we didn't talk about it, but like it seems like his mind isn't wiped, right? Like he remembers Mobius when he was down there, and then when Loki goes back in time even further, he remembers Loki still when nobody else did when he went back in the past. So like that made me think that there's something more to Mobi or to Obi.
I definitely wouldn't want to see him be a villain.
Really?
Yeah, I think it'd be really weird.
Why? Because he's too nice?
Yeah, probably.
That's why I think he's a villain, dude, because he's way too nice and he lets people walk all over him and he's like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, I'm 10 steps ahead of you guys anyways, so whatever you guys do, like, have fun. Here's my manual. Hope you figure it out. Good luck.
I don't see that delivery working if that's what they decide to do.
All right, let's just think about it. This guy's been living down in this place by himself for infinity time. Doesn't get anyone down there. Everyone seems to pick on him in the TVA. They walk all over him. They just send all of his stuff, all the stuff that he made to work. They can't figure out and it's broken, and they send it back down to him to fix. And no one's read his book. No one cares. Maybe he's just disgruntled and he's like, I'm sick of this. No one respects me here. And he's using like this opportunity to like gain power or do something in his own timeline, possibly. I also brought this up. Me and Kesha talked about it. I want to hear her theory on this because she's got a wild one, folks. But is it also might be possible that it could be a different variant of Kang that's just been infiltrated into the TVA this whole time? Or what do you think's going on with Obi, Kesha?
I don't know. It's not. Okay, so I am gonna struggle to explain this. But basically I was thinking, so in the last season, he was saying like when they were about to kill help. This is not good. You know what I'm trying to say.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I was just reading a comment. I'll put it up in a minute. I'm sorry, Kesha.
No, you're fine.
His name's Jake. His name's Jake.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what you're talking about.
No, okay, so
So
in this
explain
show,
your
what's
theory,
the first
yeah.
name I was trying to explain about?
Obi?
I forgot the name. No.
No, He Who Remains?
Yes, thank you. He Who
Kang?
Remains. No.
Nathan?
No, listen to this. I'm going to walk you through this theory too, if I can.
He'll
do it.
explain it better than I can. So, right before they killed He Who Remains, he was saying how like the others are going to come back. So what if one or multiple of the others are people who are actually controlling Obi?
So there's like another Kang out there that's like telling like Obi what to do to like mess with the TVA so that he can like come in and take over. And so I asked her, I said, okay, what do you mean? Do you think it's the Council of Kangs from the end of Quantumania? And she was like, maybe. I was like, okay. Are you saying that like they are trying to influence Obi to help them take over the TVA because they already kicked that one Kang, the Conqueror, out into like the Netherworld, and so since that guy's out into the Netherworld now, like it's reset time, and so they don't want him breaking out and coming back to take over the TVA. It was the whole thing, Dom. Yeah, it gets tracked. Really
I mean, just
terrible.
don't tell me I need to rewatch Quantumania though, because that one's not happening.
No, don't do it. Yeah. Although that booty shot from Derek Cross is a good one. Tell you what, folks.
Wait, what?
Then when he gets the guy with the big head, when he gets taken out of the water, it shows his little booty cheeks, his little legs hanging down.
Okay, I did fall asleep for most of that movie, so it sounds like that's a good thing too.
Oh no, you missed the best part of the whole movie, dude.
Oh my God.
It's like way better than Darth Vader coming out of his bathtub tank and them sitting him up. Like way better than that.
impossible.
Same theory, way better though. They did it better. But yeah, no. So I don't know if Obi's being controlled like that from an outside source or if he's just kind of weird. But there's something going on with him because it's almost like he's been around forever. His name's what's it? I forget his whole name right now. Ouroboros, yeah, which is basically like reset. So I don't know if he's like part of the reset. So like his job is to like cause chaos in this time almost and like break everything so it could reset or what. But I think there's something more going on with him.
I thought that was really funny, Jake.
Yeah, no, I mean pretty much that's pretty much how it works. So yeah, I don't know, it's a possibility. It sounds like Simone might be on my side with this whole Obi being like a underappreciated employee, and he's like, all right, like now's my chance to just totally do whatever I want and like set up my own path, maybe work out some kinks in the TVA that favor me in the future in the next round. Who knows? I don't know. I think there's something though. He knows too much. He's been around too much. He hasn't been mind wiped. He's too happy all the time. He's freaking me out, man. He's freaking me out.
That's pretty much what I was gonna say. Kind of is that he probably knows more than what we can tell so far, and then don't you think he probably has like a closer connection with Kang and Renslayer? And I guess I meant He Who Remains, but
yeah, all the same person though. Don't worry about it.
I'm just here for the ride.
There's also a funny thing that showed, like when I said that maybe he's another variant, I remember that in the first season of Loki, when it shows the Avengers Tower, it has Kang on it, but it's written QU or QE. Like it's kind of spelt in, I don't want to say like, yeah, it's just spelt differently. And so I don't know if that's like how Obi spells his name, Kang, and like maybe that's the variant that like how to get erased before. I don't know. And maybe he just kept coming back, and so they just trapped him in the TVA as like the person that knows everything. I have no idea. But I don't know if he like helped create Miss Minutes, if Miss Minutes was just created by He Who Remains. Like I just don't know what's going on with him. Something weird's happening. But yeah. So clearly what? Yeah.
I was just gonna get this comment too.
Oh geez.
Simone says, nope, he's trying to fix the loom. Pretty sure the Kangs don't want that. You don't know how often the mind wipes are.
Yeah, unless it was like... So I think she's going off of what we were saying with the Kangs before. The only argument I'd have towards that is maybe those Kangs specifically want to have this one timeline so that there isn't like another Kang the Conqueror, just like He Remains didn't want. But like I don't subscribe to that theory regardless. I think that it would be even more likely that like he was just a different version of Kang, or maybe like just too important to Kang to like erase. Maybe he just knows too much. He's like was like the original Miss Minutes until like he made Miss Minutes and then had no use for Obi anymore and like threw him down in the basement. So
I was thinking something along those lines.
Yeah, like maybe it was like he was Igor to Dr. Frankenstein and helped him, and then he just like trashed him once he had his weakest side, which is like minutes.
I don't think he's anything like Eeyore.
Yeah, like he was his assistant, He probably helped him in the lab when he first started out. Maybe like he was there when Kang first started being Kang.
No, Eeyore is like really sad and mopey, and Obi is like.
Dude. No, he's a little devilish guy, bro. He's a nice fella.
I'm talking about the donkey.
You're talking about Winnie the Pooh. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay.
But regardless, so yeah, I don't know. Do you guys think that Sylvie and Loki are going to be on the same side by the end of this, or do you think they're still going to be like conflicted, not agreeing with each other, like not? You think they're gonna have like another episode where they fight each other because they can't agree, Kesha? Or do you see them just like getting along for most of it? Like after this, I don't know if we'll see Sylvie in the next episode, but do you think she comes back to help him or to do her own thing again?
I think she's gonna stay doing her own thing for a while. She might eventually like get like curiosity will get the best of her kind of thing, where like she has to pop back in to figure out what's actually going on. And I'm sure there's gonna eventually be some kind of argument because they always butt heads. Like that's just like a thing that we figured out in season 1. Ultimately, they're going to butt heads.
I'd like to see some kind of like Big Mac cook-off between the two of them.
That would be good.
Episode.
Isn't there like a Max Keebler's Big Cook-Off from Disney? Maybe they can like incorporate that.
Yeah.
No, you're not a fan of that movie, Dom? I feel like you would have watched that one.
I don't know what you said. I didn't
It's
know.
like Max Keebler's Big Cook-Off or whatever. It was like a Disney movie way back in the day.
I don't know it.
No, dude, he's a baseball player, but he loves cooking, and so he has to decide if he wants to go to the playoffs with his baseball team or go to this huge cooking competition. What does he do? I don't know. Gotta watch the movie. But
it sounds kind of similar. It's like, do you want to like save the timeline or do you want to make Happy Meals?
Yeah,
You know?
That's true.
It's a toss-up.
$1 Million Cook-Off. Is that what it's called? Okay. Max's $1 Million Cook-Off? I don't know what it was. I feel like that's what it was.
Simone would know what it is.
Yeah, it's a good one. But yeah, I could see them. I honestly could see Sylvie coming back and being like her own thing or whatever, right? And like being completely opposed to Loki, and then even talking to him in a later episode, being like, "You told me you didn't want to rule the TVA, and now that's exactly what you're doing. Like, what are you doing on their side?" Like, I think she's too stubborn to fully side with Loki, and by the end of it, she might be upset with him. But we've already seen the ending. Like, that was one of the other questions that I thought you were going to ask about, is the fact that he's like, "I saw you in the future." And she's like, the future hasn't been written. Like, what are you talking about? We changed it. He's like, "No, like, I saw you there." So, I don't know. I thought I was going to ask some questions about that. They did it, surprisingly. But yeah, so that's the whole shindig. I don't know. Obviously, I'll ask you guys if you have any theories for next episode. I kind of talked about, dipped my toes in mine. But where do you see episode 3 going, Kesha? She's mid-sip. Dom's muted. I want to pick on Dom, but he's going to be like, it's going to be a McDonald's cook-off, man. It's going to be great.
I don't know. It's hard to really say anything because it just depends on who all ends up being involved in the next episode. Like, if Sylvie doesn't come back, that is a whole different kind of vibe or episode type than if she does come back. So it's really just going to depend on what they decide to do in the beginning to lead into that. I was going to comment, though, on when you were talking about seeing the future. I still don't think that's like quite the ending that we're going to see. Because you said like we saw the end already. Well, I don't think that we actually saw the end. I think we saw a teaser to the end. Because there's a lot to
I agree. Jake's usually wrong.
Most of the time.
I think there's a lot to explain with what you saw, or like what we saw in the first episode.
Yeah, like who actually was with Sylvie in that, and who pruned Loki. I still think it was probably Loki that did, or maybe Mobius. But maybe it was like Kang, and maybe she's like working alongside Kang, and this new Kang called Victor Timely has like other ideals, you know, and that follow along more with her. I don't know. I would love to see.
I think Sylvie's gonna have to jump into like the TARDIS, and then she'll show up at Burger King and have to figure out the secret recipe to the Whopper next episode.
Do you think that SpongeBob gets involved?
Spider what now?
Do you think SpongeBob gets involved? Does
I
he help
mean,
her on the journey? Does she go down and like get him? Like, cause
God
she needs his
willing.
help. Dude, that would be
Yeah.
crazy, dude. I could see it. I could
Yeah.
see it.
Is
I could
that
see him
what
just.
Jake? Is that what they call member berries?
No, that wouldn't be a member berry.
Okay. Jake was trying to
That'd
teach
be
me what
fan
those were.
service. Member berries would be
Okay.
like if they brought Captain America back or like Tony Stark in to be like, hey, how's it going? Let me help you out with this real quick. Like, okay.
Oh, okay.
Like a member berry was like when he was like, oh, he's a friend from work. That was like a callback member berry for you, being like, hey, remember Thor Ragnarok when Thor said that to the Hulk? Remember that, guys? That's a
Gotcha.
member berry. Yeah.
Gotcha. I remember.
Okay. But yeah, yeah, we'll see what happens. If we don't see Victor Timely next episode, I'm gonna be really surprised. They've shown us what happens at that fair. I think we're pretty much after this next episode gonna be done with all of the trailer scenes that we've seen so far. So I'm excited about that because I'm sick of every time being like, okay, we still have this in the trailer that I saw it, like seeing like when is that gonna happen? So I expect us to pretty much by next episode be like out of trailer scenes. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, I think they're gonna go find him. I think that he's gonna be a different Kang. I don't think that he is. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he is He Who Remains. I don't think that it's Kang the Conqueror though, and I know Dom's like waiting to see Kang the Conqueror. I think you're gonna be happy that this isn't Kang the Conqueror because he's not gonna be like Kang the Conqueror. So, yeah, but I expect there to be some sort of resolution to some of the problems that have been going on so far. But yeah,
I was just gonna say, like, I've been seeing multiple people like in their reviews say how this episode was like a big step down from episode 1, and I was kind of worried about that too, because like Christian Harloff, who I really respect, like his reviews and stuff, he saw the first 4 like right away. And he was saying how 3 and 4 are like way better, and like this is like the worst one so far in his opinion. But I actually ended up really liking episode 2, or enjoying it quite a bit. So I feel like if this is like the low point in the show, we're in pretty good shape going
and
forward.
I think you're gonna be happy because I don't think we're gonna see McDonald's too many more times. Maybe one more time, and then that'll be it for the McDonald's scenes for you, Dom. We'll be solid, set to go. Yeah, I guess we'll get to it. I mean, overall thoughts, Dom, you gave us a little bit right there, but any other deeper thoughts, and what's your rating on this compared to the first episode so far?
The other thing I was going to say is that the acting was still so good in this episode. A really small gripe is that sometimes there was like multiple times with Loki when he was like, especially when he was talking to Sylvie when they first met up, and he was going through like a lot of emotion. He kept doing like taking like these really deep breaths, and it reminded me of like John Boyega in Force Awakens, when you can just keep hearing him like exhale, or like
Everybody's freaking out about things.
yeah, but just like constantly through the whole movie. Like it reminded me a little bit of that. But no, that's a really small thing. Besides that, acting was great, and yeah, like I said towards the beginning, I really like the psychological stuff with Loki and with Mobius, both of them kind of dealing with their own internal problems.
Yeah.
I may have liked this one a little bit more than episode 1, actually.
Really?
Maybe a little bit.
So your favorite scene was the pie scene?
Yeah.
And it was
no,
just like
no, it was the first time that that they talked with Brad.
Oh, like the initial interrogation scene.
Yeah.
Did you think that he was gonna slap him?
I was hoping they would punch him. I'm like, that's kind of
I
lame
know.
that he slapped him.
He pulled a Will Smith on him, dude.
Yeah, I'm like, come on, man.
He Chris rocked his body, dude. Um, so you like this one more? So it's a 10 out of 10 for Dom. I feel like is what he's gonna say.
Well, no.
Yeah.
I'd say 7.5.
Okay, that's where I'm hovering. Oh. Kesha, what about you? Favorite scene, thoughts, any other stuff that we didn't get into, and rating?
I think my favorite scene, I'd say it's like the 3 scenes combined. Like just that general seeing the first interrogation and then seeing the connection that Loki and Mobius have now and like how much they trust each other, especially for both of them being people that don't trust anybody. And then going back and doing the second interrogation scene, how they work together. I just think that entire thing it definitely shows the growth in Loki. And I think it's like this entire episode is really a prime thing to show, like how you guys were saying earlier, that he wants to be a hero. So he's using what he always has done for his own gains, his own personal gains, for to actually help out overall.
Okay. Enjoy it. Rating out of 10.
I was gonna say 7. I didn't like it as much as I liked the first episode, because I think that the first episode was really mind-boggling for an introduction to the entire season. But I think it was also necessary for this show to be like a low point of the show, because now we're starting the beginning to what's going to lead into what we saw in the first episode.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so all right, we're having around the 7s. That's good. Hey, we can live with that. We can live with that. Yeah, for me personally, I feel the same way. I think the acting in the show is really carrying it. The scenes between just these certain actors, like the chemistry on screen is fantastic. Like I said, even like the McDonald's scene with Mobius and Brad. Like I love anytime Owen Wilson's on screen. He does such a great job in this show. So I love the acting. I would say probably my favorite thing was like the character development of Mobius throughout this episode. I know it was like mainly focusing on Brad, like he was the main antagonist of this episode, but it really dove into like the psychological warfare that everyone's has in their own like head at this point between right and wrong and morality and what they should and shouldn't do and what they're being called to do if they can go through with it. So I loved everything about this episode. I was gonna say I'd probably give it a 7.5 out of 10 too. It was just hard for me to follow up the first episode because the first episode was like a premiere for season 2, but it also had like a feeling of like a finale, like a cliffhanger, like everything's going bad and like it should be. I feel like I had parts from probably the last episode in that show that we're probably going to see again. So yeah, I give this one like a 7.5. I still enjoyed it, but yeah, I'm excited to see next week. I mean, we talked about Dom said that it really only gets better from here, and if Dom said that and someone he watches said that, then that probably means good things for me. Hopefully he continues on this path of Loki with me. I want him on here. I gotta keep him happy though.
We're committed.
I can't have any more McDonald's scenes though. For Dom, he can't take it. Please, for the love of everything holy, Disney, just don't show us McDonald's one more time, please. Okay. But yeah, so that's that for the episode. Unless you guys have anything else you guys wanted to talk about.
Not really. I think we can pretty much wrap things up here.
All right. Next week we'll be live on Wednesday. We haven't decided what we're going to be going through or going over, but I guess that'll just have to be a surprise for y'all.
Yeah.
And we'll be back here next Friday at 5 or 6 o'clock. Probably one of those. Not going to commit to one. You'll find out that day.
But one of those.
But one of those between 5 and 6 will be on for sure. Yeah.
And then real quick, things have been updated on the podcast feed for the people that want to listen to us just like audio only, so Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Yeah, we went as far back as like Mando season 3 till now, so things should be updated on there, and we'll be keeping it up to date. Kind of stopped keeping it up to date for a little bit, but everything's good now. And yeah, check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and give us a good rating. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us, Kesha. Really appreciate it tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for everybody watching and listening and supporting. Don't forget, subscribe, hit that like, and we'll see you next time, Starfighters.